Alright, it has begun. The beginning of the end. The last time that we'll be seeing this opening theme. Ending. Right, because and I don't know. I feel they're gonna have to do some of that magic shortcut thing this episode, because I don't see terrible. Hey, Dad. I do agree with all the people that they're deathly mare. She's gonna go to see Daenerys with the intention to kill her, but then Jon is gonna be the one to actually do it. I just don't know how they're doing. Walk away. Yeah, the Tyrion's locked up. As I said, there's only one way. I only see one way out of this. Jon is gonna have to break his. Oh,
she's everyone's queen.
God damn it, Jon!
Try telling Sansa.
Would you ever stop disappointing me?
Who you really are. You'll always be a threat to her. And I know a killer when I see one.
I can't even believe he needs this much convincing after wanted. You know, I've never been a fan of Jon.
I'm sorry it came to this.
You do know that Sansa is next, right?
You see them bending the knee.
I'm guessing he's not going to shoot fast enough. Tyrion might die before that happens. Though he got Varys killed, he's one of the few characters left, so I'd like him to still stay. She's a queen as though he says it enough that she will become this nice person. So possibly get close enough to her. She's dead. There's still the might of the dragon and the Unsullied and the Dothraki, but I'm guessing because he's a Targaryen, he won't kill him, but her guards. Kill him or not to kill him? I mean, I can guess he won't because of his Targaryen bloodline, but I wouldn't. Probably gonna be mad for a bit. Or he tries to burn him. Dodge or did he miss on purpose? Take her and fly away. So what? Tell him one night she flew away on her dragon and left.
Who then?
Why haven't they talked about John?
I've had nothing to do.
I don't particularly want to see him on the throne, but he seems a logical choice. He's the one they're trying to save. If they make him king, then he can't execute him. So, yeah.
Nothing can stop it. No enemy can defeat it. And who has a better story? And he knew he'd never walk again, so he learned to fly.
How they make him king? He's a shell of a person.
Little boy. And became weddings,
weird.
births, massacres, famines, our triumphs, our defeats, our past. I wouldn't be so sure. A few years as Hand of the King would make anyone want to piss off the edge of the world.
There's it. Now what exactly would they be guarding the men from? The Night King is no longer around. What's the purpose of the Night's Watch?
A Song of Ice and Fire. Archmaester Eagle's history of the
nice
wars
touch
the
there with the Song of Ice and Fire.
I helped it with the title.
He's not kind. He what? What does he say about me? Your Grace.
Your Grace. Your Grace. Your Grace.
We appear to be missing a Master of Whisperers, and a Master of Laws, and a Master of War.
Yes.
Can you do that from that far away?
Sir Podrick.
Sir Podrick. Okay. Or something. They could do something different. Because otherwise, I don't see the whole point of the Night's Watch. To rebuild. Alright, that is it. So there we have it, episode 6 of Game of Thrones, the series finale, the last episode that we'll ever get of Game of Thrones, and however it is you may have felt about the season so far, I'm sure a lot of us will miss the series dearly, and a lot of the characters that we've grown to love over the years. I mean, this episode as a whole, in how it concluded, I imagine it's going to be a bit divisive, as divisive, if not more so than the 2 episodes prior to this. I mean, we started out with Tyrion, walking through the aftermath of the destruction. He finds Cersei and Jaime's body, so all those fans who were, theorizing that they may have escaped somehow, yeah, it's settled, they're dead. And with that, he goes and he confronts Daenerys, and rightfully so, because he did ask her, once the bells ring, there's no need to continue, and she kills the people nonetheless. And she makes a declaration there before he arrives that she will continue to free the people across the country. And Tyrion, of course, he removed the pin for the hand of the queen, and he tosses it because he's now lost faith in her, and realizes that Varys was right. And she imprisons him, and he later has a conversation with Jon, and Jon, of course, I don't know, I've said it before, Jon has never been my favorite character. He's just been easy, he bends to the will of others so easily, and he redeemed himself in some way for me here. I mean, after much convincing, as he didn't, as much as he has seen the devastation, he still says to Tyrion that she's my queen. Right? Eventually, something Tyrion says to him, convinces him, and he meets with Daenerys, and he makes a last attempt to convince her that, okay, what you're doing is wrong. And eventually he realizes that she's just not, that's not her. And so he stabs her. I predicted last episode that, okay, it would either be Jon or Arya, because they were the only 2 that could possibly get close enough to her to kill her. Arya could wear a mask and sneak in to kill her, and Jon is romantically involved with her, so he could get close enough to kill her. So it would have been one of the 2. Of course, Jon ended up being the one to kill her. Later on, some time passes, and Jon finds himself in prison. Tyrion is still imprisoned, and they call a meeting with all the most powerful houses in the land, right? And to kind of decide what to do with Jon. And I was a bit surprised, and it's at this point that the episode kind of started to do the same thing that the others have, right? To be a bit confusing, right? Tyrion suggests that, or even before that, why is Jon still alive, right? We saw Grey Worm executing prisoners in the streets. These are guys who just served Cersei, right? And he said, execute them. And he just started cutting throats throughout the street. But the guy who kills your queen is somehow still alive. And it appears as though maybe months have passed. Somehow, Jon is still alive. How? Why? So, it's at that point that I'm like, okay, the episode is doing that weird thing again. Right? And beyond that, now Tyrion suggests, basically a democracy. Or Sam suggested it, but then Tyrion kind of went off of what Sam said, for them to elect their own king, right? And he suggests Bran. Yes, Bran. Now there are several problems with that suggestion, but for me personally, I just couldn't understand. You guys didn't want a tyrant on the throne, but you want someone on the throne who is incapable of empathy, right? Because Bran has no emotions at this point, right? He's now the three-eyed raven. we've seen him interact with people. He doesn't have empathy. He just doesn't. How is he going to rule, right? I can see an audience being called, and the people come before him and say, King Bran, the crops are dying and my children have no food to eat. And I can just imagine him saying, what of it? With that blank, look on his face. So I don't understand why that would have been a valid choice. And this isn't about me wanting the person I wanted to be, me not getting the person I wanted to be on the throne. No, hell no. The person I wanted to be on the throne was the Night King, okay? So I wasn't getting what I wanted no matter what, right? It's just what makes the most sense. I don't understand why at this point they wouldn't have just said, okay, Jon, reveal to everyone that Jon has a claim to the throne, and that would solve two problems. One, Grey Worm wouldn't be able to execute him anymore. He'd be upset, but he wouldn't be able to execute him, and Jon has a bigger claim to the throne, so why not? Right? They said they wanted someone who doesn't want the throne, and he's always been saying he doesn't want the throne. So it's not about who I wanted to see on the throne, it's just this option doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And they pointed out that Bran can't have children. They skipped over the part where he doesn't have any empathy, but he can't have children. So they would have to elect a new king again once he passes away. So they're starting their own democracy, right? That's basically what they're saying, and fine. But the option just seems very weird, right? One of the redeeming points this episode, though, Sansa said that the North will remain independent, and it's partially, I'm in agreement with her. As I said before, Sansa has never been a favorite character of mine, but this season, she seems to be the one making some of the smarter choices, and this is a good one as well, right? And we later see her being crowned the queen in the North. So that much I can say I'm satisfied with. Now the rest of the episode, I don't know what's happening there, but that made sense. Bran said he wanted Tyrion to be his hand, so Tyrion has a second shot at this. Kind of screwed up the first one, Daenerys may have gone mad, but Tyrion did make a lot of mistakes. Arya said she's going west of Westeros, so she's going on her own adventure. She was never a lady to begin with, so as she has said many times, so she wouldn't do well as a lady of the court. She wants to go out and go on her adventure. The only thing that would have made this more perfect would have been if the Hound was there with her and she and the Hound just rides off together. That would have been beautiful, right? That I would have wanted. Okay. But I'm fine with this too. So each of the Stark children, they sentence Jon to wear the black at the Night's Watch. Again, another weird decision. What are they guarding the realm from now? The Night King is dead. I don't think he can be brought back. So what's the purpose of the Night's Watch? Right? They said Grey Worm is okay with him being sentenced, getting a life sentence, but it just didn't. From the scene, the first scene to this one where Grey Worm was just after blood, and then it just moves to, okay, life sentence, I'm okay with that. It was just jarring. I don't understand why. Right? So he's okay with Jon taking the black, and I guess that satisfied his bloodlust for revenge, for avenging his queen. I don't know. But he said Grey Worm himself is sailing off, going back to North, where Missandei wanted to return to. So he's going back alone with the Unsullied. So I guess they're going back across the sea from where they came. They didn't tell us what happened to the Dothraki, and I understand. Okay, Grey Worm accepts this, but what about the Dothraki? They're not as understanding. They're not as understanding as everyone else. So they told us what happened to the Dothraki and to the Unsullied, but nothing about the Dothraki. And I can see the Dothraki going on a rampage if they find out that Daenerys is dead. But it wasn't addressed, right? So I don't know what happened to the Dothraki. Did they go back across the sea? Did they say, okay, you guys can do whatever you're doing? I don't know. What happened to the Dothraki? No one knows, right? So Tyrion is freed now. Jon gets sentenced. We get to see Brienne filling in, the book for Jaime, where I think it was around maybe season 2 or somewhere thereabout. He was, there was some conversation around him as a knight, what he's accomplished, and I guess it's fitting that she's the person to actually fill in those missing pages for him. I'm still not a fan of the romance between Jaime and Brienne. I felt as though it was unnecessary, and it became even more unnecessary the last episode with them, having Jaime run back to Cersei. So it kind of made Brienne's thing like it's just a one night stand and it didn't mean anything. So I could have done without it, right? I love their friendship as honor bound knights. I love that friendship and the back and forth between the two of them. And I don't think it needed to be romantic. I didn't get the impression that it was romantic. Some people said they have, that they got a feeling that they need to be together. But two people of the opposite sex can be close without wanting to bone each other. So it wasn't necessary, right? So we got a bit of that. They're still looking for Drogon. They don't know they know what direction he's flown into, but they can't find him. Bran said he will try. I guess maybe he can try to warg until he finds him. I don't think he can warg that far away to control Drogon. And even then, why would they even want him back there? I guess I don't know. They have no means to control him. Certainly don't. So I'm not sure what the point of that is. I guess just to let us know that he's still around, right? So I mean the last scene I was satisfied with, right? It reminded us of the very first episode, season 1, not episode 1. Reminded me of episode season 1, right, where we had all the different masters. The person who was king then wasn't exactly. Yeah, this is a much better scenario, right? It doesn't take a lot to be better than King Joffrey, but it was a lovely scene. To see the characters that remain. Bran is still around. He got what he wanted. He got his wish, and even though Jaime's not around, I guess Tyrion still delivered on making him Lord of Highgarden. So he got his wish, and he's also now Master of Coin, which is ironic. The mercenary being someone who fought for coin being Master of Coin, right? So it was good to see Bran back for one last time. To see everyone, a lot of the secondary characters that we've loved just all in one place, and Tyrion doing his hand thing as he always has done. Hopefully he does a better job now than he did last time. But they're in a time of peace now, so I imagine it will be a lot easier. Bran won't threaten to burn anyone or chop off anyone's head if no one does what they're told to do. So that final scene there was fitting. I enjoyed it very much. And it was a good send off for a lot of the characters that we've come to love over the past few years. So I mean, as I said, I know a lot of people will not be satisfied with the outcome overall. No one got to really, the Iron Throne was destroyed, right? So Drogon destroyed it, so there's no Iron Throne for them to sit on. But I imagine that the end there was a time jump because the keep seems to have been rebuilt for the most part. And I mean, Bran is in a wheelchair, so I don't imagine he needs a big Iron Throne to sit on. So I believe he'll be fine. So overall, it was a good episode. A few things were just, I don't know, a few things were just jarring and seemed out of place. Some decisions were made, but overall, Game of Thrones, we're not going to be able to satisfy every single person who's a fan of the show or who's been watching the show. I think for the most part, I think most fans will enjoy the finale, will enjoy the conclusion that they got. I'm somewhere in between, right? I thought up to season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I thought were brilliantly written, and it's obvious. Look, I'm not harping on the show or anything like that, but it's obvious at that point that after season 5, that the material that they had to work with was just wasn't enough, right? And the writers, understandably so, they're not as skilled at writing intricate plot lines as George is. That he's a novelist. That's what he does. He's a best-selling novelist. That's what he does. So I don't expect that much. I don't expect that from them, But I do think that in terms of a conclusion, we could have gotten something a bit more, right? A lot of the argument that I hear being made is that it's difficult, it's impossible to write a satisfying ending, and I disagree with that, right? A lot of shows have done it. Breaking Bad has done it. Black Sails has done it. You'll hear me talk about Black Sails every chance I get because it's a phenomenal show, and Black Sails got better with every single season. It wasn't as long as Game of Thrones. It only had 4 seasons, but season 1, episode 1 of season 1 of Game of Thrones was the worst episode of the entire show. Episode 1, right? And I say that to mean that is the bar. Every single episode from that point onward gets better and better and better for Black Sails, right? So you'll hear me reference it because I use it as a marker for good writing, because the writing in the show and character development was just phenomenal, right? So Game of Thrones started brilliantly. It didn't quite land, with the finale, but it will still go down as one of the best shows in television history. The spectacle, the grand spectacle that it created for fantasy, that's something that we've never had on TV before. So I have to give it props for that. The studios are now realizing that they can, or they need to, put in as much effort, as much budget into television shows as they do in films. And Netflix has probably started this because before, network television it didn't look great, right? And Netflix kind of changed that, because of their binge watching model. They're able to invest a specific amount of budget into this show and give the writers creative freedom to do what they want to do. And some of the writers and some of the creators and showrunners have done some amazing shows with that, right? And other networks have now followed suit, and they're seeing where the benefits are. And so Game of Thrones over the years has gotten, as I said, in terms of the scale, no other show has done what it has done over the past few years. The fan base that it has amassed, even people who aren't normally fans of this genre, have tuned in to watch Game of Thrones. So that's something we've never seen before, something we may yet see again. We may never see it again, right? But the show itself, it's one of a kind, right? So irrespective of how I feel about the last season, or the last episode or the conclusion, I do acknowledge that it is one of the best shows on network TV. Again, as I said, overall, it still hasn't cracked my list of top 3 shows, right? It still hasn't, but it's definitely up there, right? I'm sure for a lot of people it will be, right? But the writing just didn't land it for me for the past, at least the past 2 seasons, and definitely not this season. All right, so this season is definitely one of the weakest. in terms of its reception, but overall I think Game of Thrones as a series itself will still remain as one of the best, right? I'll certainly miss the show, miss the theories and discussions that I've had with people about how certain events will turn out, where characters will end up. Yeah, I'm gonna miss Game of Thrones. I'm sure all of us will. Alright, be sure to post down in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. And whether or not you're looking forward to the spin-off. I imagine that I don't know whether or not it will have as great a following as Game of Thrones itself has, but I'm sure a lot of people will still be looking forward to it. I mean, Amazon is attempting to do the very same thing with their Lord of the Rings series that's in production. Netflix is doing the same with their Witcher series. I'm a huge fan of the Witcher games, but it's going to be a bit tricky. The Witcher novels, arguably aren't as good as the games themselves, which is it's pure irony, because usually games don't adapt very well, right? Or books don't adapt very well, I should say, into other media, right? But somehow the Witcher games have managed to do the novels justice and more so. They've become, in my opinion, they have made the books more successful, right? Or in a way they've made the book successful, because a lot of people didn't know about The Witcher before the games, right? So in this rare occasion, the game has made a novel successful, but the book itself, most people don't enjoy the books because it doesn't focus on The Witcher. So the series itself that's been created will be an interesting one. Everyone is trying to make their own Game of Thrones now. That speaks to how influential the series has become, and everyone wants to be making their own Game of Thrones. So I can't wait for that, right? So be sure to post some comments, let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you guys next time.